We have another very interesting show for you. It is 2 more days of early voting and then obviously Election Day, Tuesday, November 4th. So we're bringing back some of our candidates so that you can hear from them just before the election. But hopefully you've gotten out to vote already. We have early voting. I voted the first day of early voting. You still have 2 more days to do that. But for sure, we need you to get out to vote. So we're going to start with our Amherst candidates, and we're going to start with John Trabert. So, John, tell us again a little bit about yourself, why you're running, and what needs to be accomplished there in Amherst. I obviously, a lot needs to be accomplished there in Amherst, but go right ahead.
Well, Ralph, I was born and raised in Amherst. I've been here my whole life, so my interest is well vested in this town. I have a lot of family that still lives in this town, and I raised my children in this town. I also worked for the town for 27 years on the Amherst Police Department, and they afforded me a wonderful way to make a living, and I really enjoyed working for that police department. It's a very professional police department. And to serve the residents of this town was truly a privilege. The people in this town are wonderful, because without good people, you can't have a good police department. So we really appreciate the citizens of this town. And that's one reason why I wanted to get back into the service end of the town of Amherst. I would like to represent and serve the people of the town of Amherst to the best of my abilities. I think we need to get a handle on the town debt. I think we need to be more efficient. We need to keep delivering good services and possibly improve on them, because the people deserve that in this town. So I am, as I said, very vested in this town, and I would like to have the opportunity to serve them and represent them again.
Look, John, we're very proud that you have our conservative endorsement. I think you've been an excellent public servant up to this point in time, serving the town of Amherst in the police department. And, we fully expect that you're going to do an excellent job as an elected official there. There's a lot that needs to be done there in Amherst. The tax situation, the 11.4% increase, the golf course, so many things. So I'm glad to see that you're on the ticket. So, Mary, you're our other endorsed council candidate. So go ahead, Mary. Give us a little bit about your background and why you need to be elected here.
Thanks, Ralph. Appreciate the opportunity to be here again today on The Patriot. I am just very humbled to be doing this. My husband and I raised our children in the town of Amherst, our 5 kids, and this community has been very good to us. Our neighbors, every encounter that we've had with, during the time that we've raised our children has been so positive, and we just know that at this point, I'm waking up and seeing over the past, particularly 5 years, something is off, something is not right, and we need to get the town back on track. So I decided, based on my love for Amherst, being in this town, raising our children here, that I was going to step forward and serve this community by running for office. And we know that the debt, the taxes, that needs to change. We need to get our taxes down. We need to get this debt under control. We need to continue to provide support for our police and our essential services, which is what we are going to do. And we know that with the right type of leadership, we can continue to do that, but we need to get our taxes down. We need to get this debt under control so that we have a brighter future for our town.
So we now have Christopher McMasters, who's running for town judge. And so, Chris, we hadn't had you on before, so I'd like people to know who you are, the many years that you've had an experience, and give us a little bit about your background and why you're running.
Okay, thank you. I'm an attorney with 25 years of experience. I've owned my own practice for the past 20 years. I've practiced across a variety of different areas of law. Lately, it's commercially oriented practice, and I've been recognized for excellence in that commercial area, especially as a super lawyer through Thomson Reuters. I've lived in Amherst for 18 years. I've never run for office before, and I'm a candidate for choice and change. If I weren't running, there wouldn't be any choice and change. I think we need a change in local town government, as do my fellow candidates on the slate. And I'm here to provide some of that change in the judicial office.
So, Bob, tell us a little bit about the situation. I mean, you're obviously very close to the situation. So this is Bob Davis, the Republican chair.
Thank you, Chairman. It all started back in January when we were looking at this year's election 11 months ago. And we actually ran an ad in the Amherst Bee newspapers looking for people from our community like John and like Mary, like Dan Gagliardo, Chris McMaster, that might be interested in running as Republican conservative candidates. And 19 people answered that ad, and we had a process where we had a committee that screened them and interviewed them. And then it went before our full committee for endorsement, and these 4 individuals were endorsed by the Republican Party and then got the support from the Conservative Party as well. So we've got all of our candidates running this year on the Republican and Conservative lines, and it's an outstanding slate of candidates. None of these candidates were ever involved in politics before. They're not politicians. They're professionals in their own field, their own right. And they've done a heck of a job in this campaign. We're like 292 days in, right? 292 days in and 4 days to go. And they've knocked on a lot of doors. They've reached out to this community, unlike our opponents. Our candidates knocked on doors all spring, summer, and now into the fall. So they've got a good feedback in terms of what people are concerned about. And there is no doubt that the Democrats, 2 days after the last election in Amherst, raised our taxes 11.4%. And people in Amherst are pretty fed up with that. The 2 candidates for the town board talked. Our borrowing is up to almost $200 million. Who's going to pay for that? Our great-grandchildren? Maybe? I mean, this town is a mess. It's been one-party rule for 8 years. And Sean Lavin and Brian Culpa are culpable for the problems in this town. And the Republicans are offering an opportunity for change to make a difference in Amherst. And I think in three and a half days, come 9 o'clock on Tuesday night, we're going to put Amherst back on the right track. We're going to have common sense thinking in our town government, and the taxpayers in this community are going to be better off for it. So get out and vote.
So you have an excellent candidate for supervisor here in Dan Gagliardi. Dan, do we have Dan on the line? Sure do. Dan, are you there?
I'm here. Hi, Ralph. Hi, everybody.
So, Dan, again, give us your background, why you're running, and what needs to be done in Amherst.
I've had the opportunity to work in government and corporate America, small business, and I sit on the board of Independent Health. I've got a master's in public administration and a bachelor in political science, so this is kind of in my blood. And, Ralph, all of our candidates on there right now, they're just excellent, and they've said a lot of things. But, I came here 15 years ago. My wife was born and raised here, but it's just changed. It used to be this beautiful town, and everything was wonderful, but everything has just changed. We have a lack of, I think the biggest thing is we have a lack of transparency about what and how they've done what they've done. And as you've mentioned, the tax increases, Westwood, I mean, it just goes on and on. And look, the hardest part here is that I think that they're completely out of touch with the residents. And as we go from door to door, the candidates will tell you that they're always concerned. There's always questions about what this administration has done over the last 8 years. You would think that when you're in, you'd want to give information, but we don't find that. And I believe that the lack of respect for the residents and what they say and how they feel is pretty much the biggest reason why I did it.
So, Dan, I know you've gone door to door, so tell us how many doors in the town of Amherst have you actually hit at this point?
as of today, I'm going to go out. I'm just pulling up now to our first street. It'll be over 12,000 today.
That's incredible. That is incredible. I don't know of another candidate in any situation really that's done the work that you have done in terms of this. To me, the most important piece of running in a local election is getting out to meet the electorate, and that's something that every candidate really needs to do. You need to hear what people want and what people need and what people are looking for, and you've certainly done that.
Well, and I think that if you want this job bad enough, that's exactly what you need to do, and we've got a great team. I mean, everybody's been out there working hard. Every single person that's in your studio right now, they have had the same commitment. They've done the same thing. All of us together, I think we're probably over 23,000 homes that we have knocked on. So that's a testament to the group that you have on right now, because when we started, we committed ourselves to a grassroots operation. And Ralph, you know this better than I do. There's nothing better in politics than a grassroots effort. So,
hey, look, I'm very proud of who we've endorsed over here. All of you, all four of you at this point that are running. I think you're running for the first time. You're running for the right reasons. You're running with the right background, and you're running the right type of campaign. You're out there telling people who you are, why you're running, why Amherst needs to be have a different town board. 11 years of the same town board, 11 years of one-party rule certainly hasn't helped Amherst. Right, Bob?
It sure hasn't, Chairman. It's one-party rule has destroyed this town, in my opinion. I mean, I moved in 28 years ago, and Amherst is a different place today than it was then. But, I just want to digress for 1 minute, because it's the first time that Chris McMaster's been on the show, and he's running for judge. And you know what it's like to run for judge, Chairman Laredo. You ran for the Supreme Court in 1993. And, judicial races don't allow you to engage in the issues like John and Mary and Dan have, in terms of what's happened to the taxes and the sale of Westwood for $1. Chris McMaster runs based on his resume, based on his career in the legal business. But he
based on his character, based on his integrity, based on those types of things.
You hit the nail on the head,
and that's what we have in Chris.
Well, let's talk about integrity, because go ahead, Dan.
I'm sorry, guys. You don't mind if I really appreciate being on, but I'm on a street and I got to get going.
Yep.
So I really
go knock on that door, Dan.
Get to 12,000, Dan.
All right, I'll see you.
All right.
Bye.
But Chris had a conservative primary. You endorsed Chris McMaster.
Yes.
He was the endorsed conservative candidate.
Yes, he was.
And he won that primary handily. He got over 64%. He had a Republican primary and got over 74%. And by the way, he's running against that same individual again on Tuesday.
Right.
But in that primary campaign, we had some voters come forward that said that his opponent, Mr. Judge Marion, who was appointed to the position, he's always had political jobs in the town of Amherst. He was a town attorney as well, unlike Chris, who's been a practicing attorney. But in the primary, Mr. Marion was going up to doors of conservatives, members of your party, Mr. Chairman, saying that he was the endorsed conservative candidate. And we have produced affidavits from those individuals saying so. And, you want to talk about integrity? I don't think that cuts the mustard.
Well, look, I know Chris has run a good campaign. He's run an honest, sincere campaign telling people who he is. Now we have Christine Zarnick, who is our candidate, a professional candidate for our controller's office. So, Christine, I appreciate the fact that you're here again today. Please give the people a little bit about your background and why they should want a professional in that office.
Oh, thank you, Chairman. Good to be with you again. I am an accountant. It has been my profession of 30 years now. And my goal is to get the politics out of the comptroller's office and restore professionalism. We see that the current comptroller is really participating in the bloat in government, in administrative and patronage jobs. He's added administrative positions to his own office and hasn't called out the patronage in any other office. So I think it's going to take someone who's a bit of an outsider, but someone with the courage to take a look and to audit all departments in an unbiased fashion. So right now, some departments get targeted, some are hands off. That really needs to stop.
Clearly, I mean, obviously, I put out a radio commercial. He started as a Republican. He now is a Democrat. He is the controller, but wants to be the county executive. He's just a political person. And he's obviously a very partisan political person at this point in time. And so that's an office that's a sensitive office for the county. It needs to be an independent person, not a partisan person. And it needs to be, you know, in my opinion, certainly would benefit by being run by a professional, someone who does have the experience, who understands what audits are, what they're supposed to be, and who can handle it evenly on both sides of the aisle. It needs to be done on both sides of the aisle.
Right. Yeah. The office, in some respects, I would like to see both the clerk's office and the comptroller's office be nonpartisan positions, because there really is no place for politics in either of those offices. Those two offices answer directly to the citizens and to the taxpayers, not to any particular party. At least it shouldn't be that way. The fact that Kevin Hardwick has already said he has interest in running for county executive should be something that the voters should take notice of. This is already a truncated term. This will be a 3-year term because of the switch from odd number years to even number years. And he won't even commit to serving a 3-year term, because the county executive's race is coming up in 2 years. So I can assure you, once elected, I will serve out that full term and devote my time and my attention to doing the best service for the taxpayers, not for any political party.
Well, I appreciate the fact that you're running. I appreciate the background that you have, and I think you bring all the right ingredients to the office. And I think it's an extremely, extremely important office, and people need to understand and realize you are essentially the only countywide contested candidate. So we need people to get to the polls. We need people to understand that how important that vote is, that obligation we all do have of going to the polls and voting. So I'm glad you're there. I know you're working hard.
Thank you. It has been hard work, but it has been so gratifying to get out there and talk to folks who are excited about having someone who will represent them and be their watchdog and really look out for their tax dollars.
Okay, now I'm going to turn to Christina Coyle-Lenz. And so, Christina, we have a 7-4 legislature at this point in time. So 7 Democrats to 4 conservative Republicans. We need to increase our side of that aisle, and we need to increase it by someone who is willing to listen to people, to understand what their needs are, and to communicate with people. And certainly your background, your educational background, your work experience background, certainly leads into that. So give, again, our listeners a little bit about your background and why you're doing this.
Thank you, Chairman Larigo. I spent a number of years in business-to-business sales and sales management. And while I was doing these sales positions with various organizations, I earned an MBA at UB, going to school part-time. And then subsequent to that, I worked as a private consultant in my personal private practice, and I earned another degree, a Master's of Science in Creative Studies. And it was during those years that I was then invited to consider taking over the academic program in which I was a part-time adjunct faculty member. The reason I give you that longer-term perspective is because those years of my career gave me the opportunity to accrue a tremendous amount of transferable knowledge and skills, and that's transferable knowledge and skills that I bring to my pursuit of this county legislator seat.
Look, again, in the commercial that we did put out, we point out that a lot of people in her own district don't know the current legislator who's there, Jeannie Vinyl. You know, a lot of people just don't even know she's there, and she's been there for almost 6 years at this point in time. Isn't that the case?
Yes, that is the case.
So you've walked door to door, and you've listened to people. What do people have to say in this district? What do people really want, and what are they looking for?
The residents of the district are generally dissatisfied with government as it stands right now. Their biggest concerns are public safety and also increased taxes. And when I say that these are the top two concerns, for some people it might be number one, could be either one of the two. And with that, when they tell me that they don't know who their legislator is, this really moved me because we have to have leaders that are present in the community, and they're present to everyone. And to that end, I have a plan for opening office hours across the footprint of the district. I think that's really important. The geographic diversity of District 5, it extends from Willow Ridge all the way out to Cheektowaga. And I think the responsibility of the elected representative is to be present for their constituents. So with that, I plan to have office hours in 4 distinct areas: Audubon, Willow Ridge, Creekside, Snyder, Eggertsville, Williamsville, and Cheektowaga. And those will be publicized so that residents who live in those areas can come out and meet me. They can say hello, and they can bring any issues that they might have to me personally, in that public space.
Look, that's extremely important. A legislator needs to be a legislator for her constituents, for the people that are in that district and represent that specific district. Needs to know those people, needs to know what they're looking for, needs to know what needs to be accomplished. And again, given the situation we are in Erie County with the 7-4, what essentially happens is Mark Poloncarz dictates to the 7 Democrats. They fall into line. The vote it constantly is a 7-4 vote when there's anything that's confrontational. They vote by party lines. It's just amazing to me. It didn't used to be that way. It used to be that people voted their constituents, voted their district, voted their conscience. That doesn't seem to happen anymore. Russ Cugino, you have something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, Election Day is a day of accountability, not only for candidates, but especially for incumbents. And so I think you had previously indicated a couple of votes that Jeannie Vinyl had taken that were quite controversial and perhaps not in the best interest of people in Amherst. Could you elucidate on those?
Sure. One of the votes that Legislator Vinyl took was to vote against extending a contract for the deputy sheriffs to have their body cams. The contract was to extend the use of body cameras. She voted against that. And when we think about this time in our society, law enforcement needs to feel supported. And body cameras work not only to protect the officer, protects anyone in an encounter with the officer. It's an ultimate tool, and the camera doesn't lie. Another vote that she took that really I failed to see the logic of it. It was to bring additional security into the Galleria Mall. Now, Walden Galleria is a brick and mortar mall that draws people from Canada, Niagara County, Chautauqua County, and Genesee County. And if we think about that, we need to preserve the tax revenue, the sales tax revenue that comes in through a brick and mortar complex like that. And when people don't feel safe, they are not necessarily going to make their way to the mall. And so with that, to me, that particular vote has multiple downstream consequences. So those are just a couple of examples.
Yeah, those are examples that spell out a need for change. All right, we have James Gardner on the phone with us. James, are you there?
Sure am, Mr. Chairman.
So,
I'm at the
James,
corner of I'm at the corner of Fillmore and Sienkiewicz on the east side of Buffalo right now.
Look, you've done such an excellent job getting out your position. I am so very proud of what you've been willing to do, how you've dedicated yourself to this, how you've gone into the neighborhoods, every neighborhood, how you've connected with people, and how you are the substantial difference between Sean Ryan and yourself. I mean, it is such a difference. Sean Ryan is no different than Mondami in New York City that we've all heard about. We know from looking at the votes that Mondami in the Assembly and Sean Ryan in the Senate essentially voted the same. And now we have that possibility that we will have a mayor in the city of Buffalo who is willing to call himself a socialistic Democrat. And you're certainly a contrast to that. So, James, tell us what you've learned in this journey of yours.
It has been a journey of my life. It's been incredibly rewarding. And what you find is that everyone, whether they are, new immigrants from the Rohingya population to the Bangladeshi, to the Sudanese, to the old Italian families that live in Lovejoy and North Buffalo, and the Irish community, obviously still in South Buffalo, is that everybody basically wants the same thing. Everybody wants to feel safe in their neighborhood. Everybody realizes that the way City Hall has operated for the past 60 years is not the way forward. You can just step out your front door and look around, and you can see that they're out of ideas. And this sort of habit that we have in the city of Buffalo of never holding politicians accountable, never providing, never getting any kind of change at all has really hurt the city, and it has motivated a tremendous amount of people who are registered Democrats who say, not this year. We're going to do something different. We need to do something different. It's given me a tremendous sense of optimism. There's real momentum on the ground. I mean, every community that I go to, it's handshakes, smiles, and thumbs up saying that they're going to vote for me. So I feel very, very good heading into Tuesday. Never in a million years did I think that this race was going to take the path that it has taken, and it's been incredibly rewarding. And as I said, I'm very, very optimistic about what the results on Tuesday are going to be.
You've certainly done the work. Russ Gugino has a question for you.
James, I know you were saying before that Buffalo has changed so much in the last 10 years, and you mentioned a number of ethnic groups, and I'm guessing no politician of either party has ever even talked to them. And so there's a new Buffalo, and the new Buffalo needs a new leader. What is the new Buffalo saying to you?
So what's so refreshing is that if you talk to, multi-generational Americans, right, people whose families have been here a long time, we get stuck in our ruts. These are people who, and you hear it, I hear it a lot. I'm a Democrat because my dad was a Democrat and his dad was a Democrat. We always vote the party line because that's what we do in our household. What's refreshing about these new Americans, these new immigrants who become citizens and have the right to vote, is they don't come with any of that baggage. They're looking at results. I hear it over and over and over again that, we worked incredibly hard to elect Byron Brown. And what did it get us? He made all of these promises, and what happened? And there's this real frustration that, they're in, a lot of these new immigrants, they're registered. If they are registered, they're registered Democratic. But a lot of these people, voters, they own rental properties. They're landlords. And what is alarming them is what I'm hearing all across the city is the crazy legislation that's coming out of Albany, whether it's the Tenant Right to Purchase Act, which Sean Ryan voted to advance, which basically says that if you own a multifamily home, you have to offer it to your tenants before you can sell it. And if the tenants don't don't buy it. You have to offer it to a basically a neighborhood nonprofit. It's the whole climate leadership, whatever nonsense about gas stoves and electric buses. These are things that my opponent supported, and they are completely against. And
James,
when you start seeing that, it starts moving your way.
we have James Gardner on the phone telling us about his race in the city of Buffalo. It's one of the most interesting races of a decade in terms of how he's gone neighborhood to neighborhood, met with people, connected with people, and has such a contrast between him and his opponent. So, James, give us a little bit more insight on what people are looking for in terms of a mayor for the city of Buffalo. What needs to be done in Buffalo?
Well, I mean, everyone is the first thing that everyone sort of knows about, aside from public safety being the first and foremost issue on everyone's mind, is there's no getting around the budget. The budget issue is crippling the city of Buffalo, and there's, that is where the contrast gets even sharper, because Sean Ryan's essentially come out and said that he wants to borrow $150 million in deficit bonds, which will lead the city of Buffalo directly back to a hard control board. He knows it, and the people who work, who are civil service protected in the city of Buffalo know it. That's your policemen, your firemen, your members of other members of Local 264. They understand the city's financial picture better than almost anybody, and they know that, and it's been in the news, the difficulty the city has in borrowing generally, the idea that you're going to double the city's debt without identifying a way to pay for it is incredibly irresponsible. I've said from day one that before we ask for a nickel from anyone else, we need to get our own fiscal house in order. We need to right-size city government. We're going to start with the with the garbage department, the sanitation department, which currently operates at a structural deficit, with better management and better resource management of that department alone, we can start earning, the city general fund can start earning $5 million a year instead of losing money there. So it's about not only running government more efficiently, but also making the cuts to the patronage jobs that have frankly exploded over the past 5 years. That COVID money didn't go to any kind of transformational projects for the city of Buffalo. It went to plug budget gaps, and it went to plug and to hire people. People are tired of it, and they don't want their taxes to go up to just basically fund a continued growth of the city government when services are completely lacking. There's also a tremendous sense of frustration with the education, Buffalo public education. The lack of high performing schools and the fear that many parents have sending their kids to public schools, and we need to address that as a community, as a city. I'm in favor of making sure that we create and support high performing schools across. Whether they're charter schools, Catholic schools. We need to invest dramatically into trade schools to really provide parents the options that they want, because if we don't, they're going to do what every other group, so many of our neighbors and friends have done, which is vote for their feet and move out of the city of Buffalo.
So, look, I know that you've spent a lot of time looking at the city of Buffalo budget. It's something that candidates don't often do. And I know it's a problem in the city of Buffalo. I know you're prepared to address it. So give us a couple of minutes about that, and then I'll let you go on to your the rest of your day.
Sure. So it's, it's been no secret, right? Every common council member, and Byron Brown, when he was in office, everybody knew that the city, if they kept up their spending, was going to hit this problem. They knew that their revenues weren't keeping pace with their expenses. They knew that these funds from the federal government were running out. And what did they do? The last 2 years we have audited numbers for, they grew city expenses 30%. 16% of those, over the past 2 years, there's been a 16% increase in personnel costs. That's how they've run city government. At the same time, we have nowhere near the number of snowplows that we need to remove snow on our streets. We don't have anywhere near the number of mechanics that we need to keep those snowplows and garbage trucks functioning. And it's that kind of resource mismanagement that you see all over the city budget. It's hiring patronage people at $140 or 160 or $140 or $137,000 a year, but they won't raise the pay of the mechanics that we desperately need in the Broadway barns and and at Seneca Garage. Those are the types of just fundamental lack of leadership, lack of understanding of how the city should function that has plagued the city for, well, probably the 40 years that I've been on this earth. So it has to end. We can no longer afford to continue to conduct business this way, and everyone gets it because everybody sees that their streets are a mess. Everybody sees that the roads aren't getting plowed. Everybody sees the holes in the roof of city-owned buildings, of property that the city of Buffalo owns and can't maintain. And we're not even getting into the fact that half the city is vacant lots, garbage strewn all over the place. People are tired of it, and they understand that they need to vote differently if they want any form of change. They got to change the way they vote.
That's exactly right. Democrats need to see it. Obviously, you're outnumbered 6-1 in the city of Buffalo, but I believe you've connected with Democrats. I believe you've connected with the people who will go out to vote. I believe those people totally understand that you're a person who will represent every single individual in the city of Buffalo. You're a person that understands what needs to be done, and you're not the same old. So I appreciate you being on, James.
I appreciate it, Chairman. Thank you very much, everybody. And remember, get out and vote.
Thanks. Okay, we're now going to turn to Cheektowaga, to Mike Jasinski first. So Cheektowaga is another one of those bastions that had been in Democratic control for decades and decades. But Cheektowaga voters vote the individual, vote the person. They are good, conservative, ethnic individuals who want to go to work, who want politics to be with them. So, Michael, tell us a little bit about, you've been on this board.
Good morning, Chairman, and thanks for having me today. I think what's important is that Cheektowaga needs leadership who has the experience to move this town forward. This will be my second term that I'm running for. I got, my feet under me and realized the actual real problems that are ailing the town. Number one is this tax thing. You cannot seek prosperity through taxation. Raising taxes, all it does is hurt the middle class, our vulnerable population, senior citizens, and the poor people. What it does is it forces people to make decisions that they normally wouldn't have to make. Do I, buy my medicine? Do I feed my family? Or do I pay this out of control taxes? So being in the town here, for almost 4 years now, I've actually been able to see where the overspending with the help of the other candidates that are running now. Myself, Mark Wagner, Diane Benchikowski, Tony Filipski, and as a team, we've identified these problems, and it hasn't been easy because, there's been a lot of pushback. These people don't want change that have been running this town. And for 60 years, this town has been a one-party rule. I'm an outsider. I had no interest in politics. I've only had interest in the town that I love. My wife and family was born and raised here. My mother-in-law built her home here. People who contributed to this town each and every day, that were good neighbors, that took care of their properties. Now the seniors are coming to me and they're like, Michael, I don't even know how I'm going to make ends meet. I paid off my house 10 years ago. I don't know what I'm going to do. My husband or wife has passed away, and I'm just not sure how I'm going to be able to pay these taxes. I voted 3 times to have the senior tax exemption to the full allowable rate allowable by the state. The Democrats voted all 3 times against that. What Cheektowaga really needs to realize is that we have an outsider as myself and the other candidates that are running for this town board. We have people that actually have the taxpayers' best interest in heart. Politics is a very dirty thing. People like to spread rumors and lies. I encourage everybody just to go on our town's website, look up all the resolutions that I voted for, and you will clearly see that I'm your clear choice, as well as the other candidates running for this town board, that we've all voted in favor for you, Mr. and Mrs. Taxpayer. That's the number one reason why I ran for this town seat, is because the out-of-control taxes. I was an outsider. I was just an everyday blue-collared working guy who, just got, kept on looking at my tax bill and said, my goodness, I said, how am I to make ends meet? It's tough. I'm a blue-collared working guy, too, in this town. This is a town that I love. And if we don't change the way the town is going, more houses are going to go up for sale, more people are going to sell their houses, and people just can't afford this taxes. It's completely out of control.
I get it, and things can change and will change if we can put the right people in office, and the people that you've mentioned certainly are the people that we're looking for. All right, we need to take a break at this point in time. Then we're going to come back with Mark Wagner, who's also running for the town of Cheektowaga as councilman.